West Coast cities have a lot of Asian influences, and Portland, Oregon is no exception. But when I visited the garden of designers Nani Wadups and Ron Wagner, I felt like I'd flown over the Pacific and landed in Thailand. Everywhere I looked, I could see evidence of their fondness for this country, from the whole design of the garden to the tiniest of details. Mingled with teak architectural elements and beautiful Thai clay pots are Ron and Nani's own creations, making this half-an-acre garden one of the most unique I've ever seen. Somehow, during my visit, I always felt like I was being watched. But I'm getting ahead of myself. When you come to Portland, at least when I come to Portland, I think of great big conifers, but this is a lot of fun. This is a character here on the outside of your garden. What type of shrub is this?
It was a big blob of Escallonia when we first moved in, and Ron seems to see things in plants, and it started to take shape.
How did you go about it? Did you have a chainsaw? Did you just come down one day? You did it, come on, I know it's second nature to you, but I'm curious.
It's hard to know what the artistic process is, but I mean, you're just looking at this big fluffy shrub, and it wasn't as dense as it is now. But over the years, when you keep clipping it, it eventually, it takes shape. It takes about 2 or 3 years for it to fill in everywhere. It doesn't bloom where you clip because you've clipped off the buds, and that allows the upper wild growth at the top to bloom and look prolific.
So you're saying you really wish you had hair like that? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah, as I get older, I'm sure, and more.
He looks like a man, but even with the hair, is it a man or a woman?
I've never checked.
I'm always wondering, it's that kind of feeling, like if you stick your hand in, it might not come back out.
At Halloween, we put red bike lights in the eyes to make him scary.
So this is the man that guards the garden, that welcomes you to the gate, that welcomes you to the house.
Yeah, security.
Security, I like that. These gates are another great welcome. Did you design and build these gates? Because you're both designers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means you design and constructed everything.
Yeah, both, and maintenance as well. So.
Can't forget about maintenance. What type of wood is this?
It's teak.
This is teak.
Yeah. We went on a trip to Thailand a few years ago with a friend and stumbled with her onto a wood carving village, and they had all this beautiful house ornament. We guessed how much we would need, and we got just the right amount to do the entire perimeter of the house. It's hanging from the eaves, and a whole bunch of fencing material like this too. So.
Wow.
We tried for a while to think of a name for this place, and all the temples in Thailand are named like Wat, Wat meaning temple. We ended up naming this place Wat Pho, W-A-T-P-H-O ? Wat Pho. So yeah, that's kind of the unofficial name of this place.
So when you started out, was this just a big hill, or?
This was the driveway. And the pavement is the old existing pavement from the driveway.
It's nice to have a sloping garden facing south so you get the maximum amount of light possible.
And when you're choosing plants, does one of you say, okay, I think we need a grass there, I like that texture, and how about a tree here? Or?
I think it's more or less the site that made the plants.
A lot of them don't require a lot of water, and since you've got the great drainage.
Yes. I mean, a lot of the things that we have were sort of distressed plants. At nurseries here, local nurseries, they'll gather up all the distressed plants and stack them on a pallet. And then, the whole pallet is $15 or something like that. So.
Wow. Well, they no longer look distressed in your garden. You brought them back to life. And the sedums do so well.
Yeah.
This sedum just took off, this purple sedum, and so we realized that sedum is a good choice for this whole hillside.
You don't have to worry about keeping them watered or really what they're doing. They're just happy.
But I love it with this other sedum, that chartreuse and burgundy and green. They show up so well in your light, and you have a lot of gray days.
Yeah, we do.
So you need those bright foliage colors. And this color of this Sweet William, I would love to try growing that one, get some seed from that. That's an unusual color.
Once you have some, you'll have many because it's a prolific cedar.
And Nicotiana, or flowering tobacco, is such a great plant.
It smells so wonderful at night.
And it looks good with, I don't know a common name for this, Persicaria.
Persicaria.
Red dragon.
Yes.
I think that's it.
Tovara.
Tovara. So there's a lot of play on texture and foliage in your garden.
I think that the way that we tend to do garden design is kind of like how we do our work in interiors, where we're starting with sort of the bones of the garden and then introducing structural elements, like in the garden, the bamboo and the real sculptural trees and Ron's sculpture, of course, and then playing around with other textures, lacy textures like the maple, and then upright things. And when there are holes in the garden, we tend to fill in with more texture than flowers.
So flowers are secondary. Wow, there's a big piece of driftwood. Ron, don't tell me, is it a bird?
A plane.
Is it a plane?
It's driftwood with a purpose.
It looks as if it's...
ready to take off.
But that piece of driftwood was all just like that, or did you put that
That's
together as a
actually-
sculpture?
It's a driftwood branch that I attached the small pieces to follow the shape of the branch. Fun with a nail gun. You know.
Fun with a nail gun.
Coming up next, Nani shares her secret on how to make this beautiful mosaic patio. Just invite 100 of your closest friends to help. And later, Erica proves better at identifying plants than animals.
What is that, a salamander? Or
A salamander? No, it's actually a bird. Now come on.
a bird?
Stay with us.
It's a whole block of shows that
Oh,
Okay, I should be able to beat
that was my first roll of the year.
You're right.
The eclectic nature of Ron Wagner and Nani Waddup's Portland garden springs from their very different backgrounds. Nani grew up in Hawaii, where her father had a farm with a large vegetable garden. Ron grew up on the Oregon coast, where he helped his father garden vegetables and dahlias. Summers spent at the beach spawned Ron's fixation with driftwood. As children, they both loved to play in the garden, and they still do. Do you call this the kitchen garden?
We do. It's just closest to the kitchen door.
And you've got this wonderful teak gate. Both of you being interior designers, I mean, it's no surprise that you'd have such great things, but this is very creative with the bamboo just stuck in this big urn, and then the variegated potato vine and the clematis. That's a wonderful combination.
Well, we certainly have no shortage of available bamboo to cut, and
that's all from your clump right here on the property.
the ever-growing clump.
Your stonework, the pebble mosaic.
Yeah, this was really inspired by the Portland classical Chinese garden. We sand cast all the little black parts. We made little concrete,
Wow.
we call them telephones because they're like shape of an old telephone
Wait, so
handle.
This is the little telephone shape.
Yeah, Ron actually sculpted a little mold of one of these, and we used it to press into the sand, wiggle it, take it out,
Oh.
and then we poured black cement in the sand and repeated that and made hundreds of them.
And then did you and Ron put all the pebbles in yourselves, or how did you accomplish that?
We had a garden club come over to teach them how to do pebble mosaic, and so they came and
Free labor.
free labor, 2 days worth of free labor, and we got about half of it done.
Wow. So your real cost is just getting the rocks,
And
the
your
pebbles.
chiropractic care.
And your chiropractic care. Nani, this piece of driftwood is really striking. As you come up the driveway, this is what you see, and it looks like a sort of a winged creature.
It's wonderful. Ron loves to bring home copious amounts of driftwood from the beach. We have back and forth conversations about just exactly how much driftwood we really do need to pile up in our driveway.
So you've got it everywhere, just driftwood.
We do have it everywhere.
Ron's obsession with dead trees extends beyond the beach and into his own front yard, where a diseased cedar tree was given an extreme makeover to become a unique garden feature.
Well, this poor cedar tree.
What more is there to say about the cedar tree?
It's always too bad in a garden that has focal points is just more or less thrown off balance by the death of a plant. And I wasn't prepared to part with the strong element that the stalks were creating.
And so I think that might have been a little part of the tension.
Nani was just saying, when are you going to cut that thing down? I thought there's just got to be something that we can do with it.
When I finally just realized, okay, we're not going to cut it down, let's just make something fun about it.
We went on a little forage into the forest, you know.
Swinging from vines in the trees like Tarzan.
We looked at those vines hanging down from the trees and we thought, wow, we could coil those up.
Ron would spin the thing and I would wire.
And just the nests in the trees, we started to like it. This is actually the front of the house, but no one ever comes this way because the street is down there and they get confused.
So that's the back and we're in the front.
We're in the front
of the house.
Yeah.
But this is an unusual sculpture. These are vines that you've made into baskets.
These are wild clematis vines
Wow.
that really do engulf trees. And so we coiled them up and lined them with moss and put some what will be cascading plants in there.
That's great fun. What do people say when they see this?
Well, not many people have yet. So it remains to be seen whether it is a hit or a miss. But
Oh, I think it's a hit for sure.
it is doomed, though, because it is actually dead. So eventually we'll have to get
Have a
rid of it.
ceremony.
Yeah, cremate it in our fireplace.
Coming up next, if you're willing to stomp in the mud, you too can have one of these in your greenhouse. And later, the private retreat Nani and Ron created in the middle of a huge fountain. Stay with us.
Ron Wagner and Nani Wadups own a business that caters to architects and designers and makes their vision a reality. So they're pretty fearless when it comes to their own garden, and they're not afraid to experiment with ways to bring influences from the Far East back to the West Coast. This looks almost like a stencil that you've painted on the fence.
Yeah, when we were in Thailand, we went to a local art store and they had historical pattern books of Thai decoration. All of their temples are all stenciled. I made the stencil out of tar paper and stenciled it with this iridescent paint, which is really beautiful at night. There's a yard light over here, so this whole area sort of glows at night.
I guess a lot of your work translates from your design business
Yeah.
to the garden. And this wonderful weeping Katsura or Cercidophyllum makes such a great curtain.
It's kind of a scrim. Well, you're trying to portray a tropical garden and want it to be lush feeling. I feel like you should have to have a little interaction with the plant, so we sort of planted it here so it hangs down like a curtain. And I don't know if you've seen in Asia, there's scrim-like screens that you're constantly parting, and this is sort of that same effect.
Now this doesn't look like anything you do in your business. This
No.
looks like a cat made out of Lanicera.
Yeah.
Is that Bagason's gold
Yeah,
in the
it's
shade?
Bagason's gold. And there's one thing that I think I was affected by in the East. To keep evil spirits from coming in the gate when somebody else comes in, you put an angry warning sentinel at every gate. So this is actually, in my mind anyway, a tiger.
An angry he doesn't look too angry to
Well,
me,
he's-
Ron.
you know,
I don't know,
he's-
you need to work on that angry look.
Well, yeah, anger is something hard to portray in a bush, but, you know.
It wasn't enough with the scary tiger. You had to put in, what is that, a salamander? Or?
A salamander? No, it's actually a bird. Now, come on.
A bird?
Yeah, see, here's the tail.
Uh-huh.
Here's the two wings. Here's the head.
It's turning its head this way, though.
The interesting thing about making topiaries is you have to work with what the plant gives you. And so it makes them sort of semi-abstract because you can only deal with what you have. And so if you're trying to impose your image on it, you have to give a little to the plant.
And your bamboo, you're not afraid of bamboo.
This one has a rather sturdy barrier around it. This is bori, which is the tortoise shell effect on the bamboo, which comes out on the second year after the plant comes up. See, these are new canes this year, but the older canes will have this spotting effect.
Now, what happens when the bamboo gets too big?
You know, barriers are good for a certain amount of years, and then the bamboo usually finds a way under. And then that's
does.
time to list the house. And hope that the
Move
real
on.
estate market is good. And then you're a lucky person.
I decided to see what Nani was up to, so I headed past the bocce ball court to the back of the property under the watchful gaze of another of Ron's mysterious face sculptures. Nani, we're at the back of your house, really it seems the highest point, and this looks like the fruit and vegetable garden.
We devoted this section to berries. We have these nice evergreen blueberry bushes, and then here we have what are called cotata berries, K-O-T-A-T-A. And we discovered this berry from the local farmer's market. There's a woman that sells cotata berry jam.
Ooh.
And we fell in love with the jam, and then when we saw the berries for sale, we bought those.
The cotata, though, I have to walk over here. Are these, how do you know when they're ripe?
They're black.
Oh, there's none that are ripe.
No,
I can't eat
sorry.
one.
If you ate one
Oh,
now,
wait.
I think you'd
Is that
pucker.
black?
No.
Almost?
No.
Oh, darn. So you grow food to eat as well as ornamentals?
Yeah, we used to do a lot more vegetable gardening, but we found that we love the farmers markets in Portland so much that we prefer to grow flowers in our vegetable beds instead.
Now it's Santolina and annuals in the middle.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
Yeah.
And a greenhouse.
Yeah, it's sort of a Thai temple-inspired greenhouse.
So your greenhouse is really a place that you can use to relax and entertain, as well as store all your plants in the wintertime, your tender plants. But this is magnificent to
Isn't that
have
great?
this. This is a clay oven?
Yeah. The area where the greenhouse was to be built, it was on a bit of a hill, and so we had to excavate and dug up a bunch of clay. So we built this clay oven with a group of friends, and in kind of traditional methods, you mix the clay with cut up straw with your feet. Just tamped it on to a sand dome, and then when it was all built up with clay, then we'd cut a little hole and scoop the sand out, and that's what leaves the void that makes the hole.
That's how you do it?
Yeah.
That's great.
Very traditional method.
Do you cook in it, or do you just use it to keep warm?
No,
or?
it's an actual clay roasting oven, and the clay body heats up. And then you can either take all the coals out or push them all to the back like a pizza oven. And then it's the radiant heat of the clay that cooks everything. It's got this great quality of infusing food with this caramel flavor.
Well, everybody needs one of these clay ovens in their greenhouse.
It's really nice to have.
Coming up next, the most relaxing spot in the garden, right on top of a waterfall. When a gardener's diary continues.
It was really hard for me to believe that Nani and Ron's garden was only half an acre. It seems so much larger, but part of that's due to the way they've divided the garden up and the tricks they play with scale. Although Ron and Nani seemed like a perfect match of artistic talents, even from the beginning, they had different concepts of scale.
One of our first dates, we went off into the woods and we separated to collect a bouquet of foxgloves. And so I come back and I've got this great little posy of not only foxgloves, but all these other little flowers. And Ron comes back and he's got this huge armload of foxgloves. And it was sort of telling of the future of the way we would garden, because Ron does everything on a much bigger scale than I would. It takes, I think, Ron's vision to push me into a bigger project.
You've got a great design here, and you've used a pretty common plant, the golden globe arborvitae.
And I use the golden oregano a lot because it grows both in shade and full sun, and I clip it like it's a shrub.
So golden oregano in Oregon makes a great subshrub.
Yes.
Is this a birdhouse here?
No, it's a spirit house, and in Thailand where we purchased it, every building has a corresponding spirit house to sort of keep the spirits from causing trouble in the house. And so every morning you put your offerings out there and to lure them into their own little domicile.
And then your eye is just drawn naturally to this wonderful urn.
It's a Thai shipping jar, and in Thailand they look at them as just a utilitarian object.
They don't appreciate the
They don't
ornamental.
appreciate them at all. They're just shipping jars. And then we designed the euonymus hedge to sort of weave around and go back.
Then it goes up behind the daylilies, and then it goes
All the way
right
up.
on up to the tea house at the top of your hill that really affords you a great view of your whole garden.
We designed it in perspective. So this looked like it was a little farther away. Everything tapers to the tea house.
So it starts out broader.
Right, and it narrows towards the top. Even the tea house itself narrows to the back. It's a visual trick that has been used in gardens forever. The corrugated tin also makes that short drop between here and there add a lot more sound, which is a calming sort of thing.
So that's just a great place to sit and relax.
Yes.
You get good ideas about the garden when you're up there?
Yes, or unconscious ideas about the garden, because the first thing I generally do is fall asleep.
I personally enjoy gardening because I like starting from nothing, and making something is just this huge gratifying process.
It's developing a piece of land in your own image. I don't know. Maybe because we don't have children and this is something we can care and nurture for.
We'll have these visions for these projects that are just so vast that I can't really wrap my mind around how it could possibly happen. But they do.